Hi, this is Matt with the Intergalactic Herald. Welcome to my Star Atlas Week in Review podcast. This is podcast number 128. Any articles or videos mentioned can be found on my website at intergalacticherald.com. Just look for Weekly Recap Newsletter 176. A quick summary of things that happened this past week in Star Atlas. This was a big week for Star Atlas. They had their Community Week, and in the middle of Community Week, they started a series of town hall announcements of new changes to the software. And so that was in the middle there. And that was it. And that was enough. It was quite big, and I'll go over that in a second. But before I get to that, just wanted to mention a few things that I'm working on within the Star Atlas ecosystem. Of course, first is my website, intergalacticherald.com. It's a great Star Atlas resource website. It's got a beginner's guide, number of directories of different things in the Star Atlas ecosystem, from guilds to content creators to builders and other things. Tools. Also, I do have a couple of different recaps. One is the weekly recap newsletter where I put all articles and videos from different content creators. Additionally, I have recaps, AI audio summaries of community events. And then lastly, something recently I came out with, I do have a new newsletter, which is the basically Star Atlas Discord announcements that come from some of the channels. So you can basically subscribe to that email newsletter and just get it there so you're never missing out on anything that happens in Discord announcements. Additionally, I have two other Star Atlas projects I'm working on. One is my Star Atlas merch store called Intergalactic Gear. Of course, it can be found at intergalacticgear.com. Open for business, just have a few products. It's been on the back burner, adding some more products, but we'll see. Also, I do have a merch survey there, so I'd love if you fill that out and tell me anything you'd like to see eventually there. And lastly, a long-term project, been trying to start a Star Atlas community for gamers who don't want to join Star Atlas guilds. You can find that at intergalacticcoalition.com. As I mentioned, this past week in Star Atlas was a big one with the, annual now, Community Week. Before that, both Metaverse Explorer and Beyond the Horizon did some intro videos and things like that. And I did want to highlight one thing that Metaverse Explorer put on his that I had not heard of, that the old Sage Labs, so labs.staratlas.com, now has an export feature. So if you have anything left over there, you can just export it out. But the other nice thing you mentioned I wasn't aware of, it will also go ahead and close some of your Solana rent accounts, so you get a little Solana back. So I'm not sure if I just missed an announcement or whatever, but I really appreciate that mention. Went through it. Pretty straightforward process. So anyways, that was last weekend. And again, this last week was the Star Atlas Community Week. Number of events occurred. All of them, or not, I shouldn't say all, but most of them were recorded by Star Atlas TV, so you can check those out. I did a IA summary of the town hall, so you can check that out on mine. But just a real quick recap on the kind of order of things that occurred. Monday, they had a kickoff event announcing the week ahead and talking about different things. Tuesday was the COPA event, which was a guild presentation and then voting on, I can't remember exactly what the criteria was, but anyways, 3 guilds were selected. Wednesday was a town hall, which I'll come back to in a second. Thursday, they had a game tournament with the recently updated UE5 version, so the team, Star Atlas team, played different community groups. And then on Friday was the Joni Awards, which were community awards for community members. Results are in the Discord along with the COPA results. Apologize, I just didn't write them down. And then today on Saturday, when we're recording this, there is the ending event, which is the Carnival Raffle. So all week long, again, this is in hindsight, so it doesn't really matter to tell you, but there are different ways you can win raffle tickets, basically. And so I guess sometime today they'll be drawing however raffles work for different prizes. But I did want to go over just real quick recap on the town hall, which was the update to the UE5 version of Star Atlas. And it was a great announcement. Somewhere in the middle, they released it. So it's available for download on this Epic Game Store. If you already have it downloaded, you can just do an update. If you've never done it, you will need a key, a game code key, but you can go into the Discord and you can do that. Also on my website, I do have a link to how that process works. I forget which exact channel within the Star Atlas Discord it is, but if you go to the general channel and post or look in some of the news, but I think they have a guide channel too with different things. But just some of the highlights that stood out to me. Again, if you want to listen to the whole thing, you can either go to Star Atlas TV and watch it in its entirety, or on my website for my event recaps, you can listen to a 4 or 5 minute AI summary of what occurred. So one thing they did change, again, cosmetic, that's part of this, was a new title screen with just different appearance, so that's great. One of the big things was that now you quote, load out your crew member. So you have to pick before you get into the game, guns and things like that. It's a whole aspect to that. And this is the first time that we do have now some progression. And so you can actually level up your crew for a reward. Now, one thing I wasn't clear, and from some of the talks on Discord, I think they'll clarify this, but I'm not sure if it's actually your crew member or it's just a crew, because there was talk about there wasn't any blockchain integration. So don't quote me on all this. And again, I was just listening late last night, so I may have misunderstood things too. But definitely there's some progression, but whether or not it's actually your true crew member, it wasn't exactly clear on that. So they did update the main arena shooter map. I already forgot the name of it, but definitely higher polish and things, and they said it was final. So that's actually kind of cool to reach a level of completion on one aspect of that part of the game. They also demoed a new racetrack, which I guess is replacing a previous one. So there's that. And then one of the team members who's developing the Gallia, I can't remember. But anyways, it's the aspect of the game where you're in a ship and you can go between planets and things like that. But they added missions. So I don't think this is like a finished one. It's more of a kind of work in progress, but really starting to see how the kind of ship exploration to different planets gameplay might be moving forward. And then near the end, they did mention one, I think, really important thing, that the team's development will now start focusing away from the shooter and the racing to fleet command, though they won't be completely abandoned if they need bug fixers or whatever. But definitely sounds like they're making a pivot to really start moving fleet command. And since fleet command is also built on the UE5 engine, it makes perfect sense. Need a larger team to handle everything. So sounds like they're at a point on the shooter and the racing, they have something type of thing. In addition to this, they did release a cinematic trailer, though I did read somewhere that apparently it had already been released before, but maybe not publicly. But okay. So anyways, but another trailer. So anyway, so that's a summary of everything that occurred during Community Week and definitely in the town hall. Yeah, so I'll be getting the next session, which is just more of my thoughts and analysis on the kind of State of Star Atlas and obviously Community Week. I think as a event, we'll call it that, Community Week, I think is definitely, now that they have it, feels like 3 years, definitely 2, maybe 3. I think it's a great way to celebrate the Star Atlas community. I think this year you could see maturing of the event. Definitely the cadence is great, having an event a day, Monday from kickoff all the way to Saturday on the carnival. I think the addition of the carnival and the raffles with the Discord bot is great. I didn't participate, but only because you had to be actually at the sessions live to get the codes. And then after the event was over, the code no longer works. Yeah, sorry, I'm working. There was too many events. But I think as far as a community engagement, bring everybody together, encourage participation live, excellent. It gives part of Community Week, but I'll get into the town hall of the UE5. It was nice to have an announcement during Community Week too. So yeah, overall, definitely I think great tradition. Yeah. Cons, I kind of alluded to it. It's during the workday. So that's hard for me. But I actually realized later it is one moment in time in a 24-hour cycle. So if you were in Asia time zones, or you're oceanic, I don't know, Australia, whatever, those kind of time zones, I think you're sleeping. So if it's mine, I'm in Pacific time, so I think most of the events were 11 a.m., so I think that's still good for European time zones. Yeah, I get it. I get it. But I did remember back when they did their Impact Summit, which I believe they were in Singapore live. And actually, I was at a business conference. It was a Friday night, if I remember correctly. And I was just grabbing some dinner and realized that it was live. And I watched it live and was able to actually contribute to or be in the chat. I think did like an hour or so before anyways, that's all I could spend. I think it was like a 6 to 8 hour event, one full day. But the experience of live, there was definitely something to say that made that a more enjoyable experience. But on the other hand, it is tough when, what do you do? And I was again starting to think more about this worldwide audience thing. And depending on how the time zones are, you probably could get 2 of the major kind of regions in. Again, if you just say it's Americas, Asia, Pacific, or Oceanic, and then Europe, which I guess covers Africa too. Yeah, anyways, I don't know. It's hard. I have a hard time figuring out U.S. time zones. Anyways, I don't know. It's just something, and maybe that's a thing going forward. And it's actually something I did not listen to the Guild event, nor the Joni Award event, nor today I'm not listening to it because I got chores at the house and family things to do. But yeah, it was just something got brought up. I think it was what little I caught on the Joni Awards was, there's lots of content creators and language content creators. And of course, the Stardust Discord is in English, which is fine. But yeah, just, I guess for the future, more realization of the international aspect and the worldwide aspect. And it seems crazy to give the same presentation in 3 different time periods in one day, but the idea of 3 languages, something to that, or at least I don't know. Anyways, don't want to make this like a big criticism because it's a hard problem to have, but it did make me realize great for in person and definitely with the raffle, but kind of, maybe something for improvement in the years ahead. And again, with larger community, more community team members, all that stuff, this becomes easy to solve. And again, there are Atlas brews in different languages at different times, so they're already on that track. But overall, I think it was a great experience. I'm glad this Star Atlas team has made this tradition. It's definitely something that grows a community, binds them together, makes them part of that, and definitely leveling the playing field with the raffle being just no money involved and things like that, no trading, no value on the marketplace or things like that. So anyways, then the next main course was the town hall, and I wanted to speak to that one in specific. So the UE5 upgrade, again, I haven't spent any time in it, just listening and seeing a little bit, but definitely shows nice upgrades. The fact that these have come out with a much higher cadence than in years past. I forgot if they said it was a 5th one of the year. Definitely showing a progression of work. Now the shooter is having actual in-game consequences, or I shouldn't say consequences, but progression or reward system or whatever. I think that's great for retention, for getting people excited to go play, things like that. Again, I was listening late at night, so a lot of it just went in ear, one out the other, which, as there is a room for improvement. Online live demos are great, but it would be awesome if these were followed up with written documentation so that people can follow it. And again, we'll see, might still be coming out this week, but listening on a video is not necessarily the easiest to follow instructions on different things. Or again, maybe something in the community will step up and record it. But as I was listening to the town hall and as things were going on, I was again thinking, great shooter, and I know why they're focusing on it because they mention it. But again, my interest was in spaceships. But I wrote that down while I was watching it, so I was proven wrong in the end. But the racing, glad to see there was some interest, or there was some effort put in there. Sounds like, again, they're putting some progression on the track, and it sounds like they're, again, maybe a reward thing. So I think both of those coming together, and the fact that there was mentioned that they're going to pivot now and focus on fleet command, I think those are great kind of ending points, good milestones to hit with both racing and shooting. Gallia missions. So the Gallia, I don't know what it's called. It's Project Gallia or whatever. I just keep calling it Gallia. The fact that they're adding some missions was actually very cool. It was quick, and again, it sounds more like a proof of concept, but again, you can explore. And it really got me going back to, I think it was at Impact Summit, where they showed not a cinematic trailer, but an actual in-game mission where a person was flying a ship, landed someplace, talked to somebody, they gave them a quest, they went off and did it. And so again, that was like, yeah, cool. Again, we haven't really seen anything of that type since then, but these missions definitely seem to be moving on there. And again, nothing wrong with shooting, nothing wrong with racing. In fact, I truly do enjoy that Star Atlas has this wide range of potential gameplays, but myself, definitely the idea of ship-based missions that maybe have some sort of crew component. Maybe you're going out, and I think they talked about a bounty or something, and I wasn't sure if it was just a ship bounty, but again, you could do both, land and things like that. And they showed hauling cargo for a mission or something like that. So again, I think that was already great. So I think to summarize the town hall, which again, before I get to that, this is one of 3. And I did listen to the whole kickoff meeting. And again, the teams have been very careful to not even spoil what's coming up in the next 2 town halls. So they've been really good about, we don't know what's coming. They talk about a lot of things, but again, it could go anywhere. So again, I think that's really great as the first town hall of 3. So as far as this one, kind of summary, adding the progression elements, the reward type of things to the UE5 development of the shooter and the racing things seems really great. Again, it was a lot of content to understand late at night, but the persistent servers came, and it looks like there's some sort of matchmaking. But again, I think the idea of rewards and reasons to play and the leveling up should be hopefully a way to encourage people to start playing type of thing, which dovetails into the last thing I wanted to bring up, because it came up a couple times. I think it was the kickoff, but it could have been the town hall too, this concept of marketing activation. And again, we had a couple Atlas brews back, or maybe it was only one, with Dom getting promoted, pivoted, whatever, new role of a marketing manager. And I first don't understand what an activation is, but I think that's just terms within industries. I could reel off terms that other people wouldn't understand. Yeah, so I'm not really sure. But I did notice when I was catching up on Twitter, names that I had not seen before were posting about Star Atlas, and then they were getting replies from different people. So I know they were mentioning they were going to start reaching out to other content creators, influencers to start promoting. So in that sense, maybe that's the marketing activation. I was thinking, is it the raffle? But that seemed way more focused for the community members. It would be, to me, really hard to be a brand new person other than just attending, but being overwhelmed by that. And it was something that was interesting, at least I caught at the kickoff. I didn't catch at the town hall, at least I don't remember, talking about, hey, if there's anybody new in the audience. So I guess that makes sense on activating new community members or new gamers. But partly to maybe this just is related to the other town halls, and this was just the first one, and who knows. But I guess the fact that there sounds like this team is taking some initiatives now related to marketing, and I assume at least raising awareness that the Star Atlas exists. But again, whether they're actively bringing new players in or something, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. But again, still wait. We got a couple more town halls, so we'll see how those, because now I feel like, again, the community week was definitely focused on the community, and rightly, and no reason not to start with a town hall that talked about the product updates, but curious to see how those 3 town halls will come and connect all together to understand more about this kind of marketing activation. So anyways, that's pretty much my thoughts on the past week. So just real quick, end up on talking about my journey playing Star Atlas. Again, I've been predominantly focused in Sage, though now that the UE5 version has, easier to get into with persistent servers, reason to get in, even the loadout thing, I admit there's some interest there. Yeah, I don't know. Problem is I got summer, business is busy, which is awesome being summer, but I got some family activities, taking some actual time off. Yeah, only so much. Yeah, just so much time there is. But yeah, so maybe, actually, I guess I'll be blunt. On the UE5, I think I'll just wait for the next patch, because I have a funny feeling there'll be a patch in a week or two. So just wait. Or again, better documentation, so at least I understand how the reward system works or what's the goal, and even how to connect wallets and stuff like that. There was some, it wasn't perfectly clear, some of the things I was reading. But anyway, so I'm still progressing with my Sage play. Oh, one other thing I totally forgot. They did mention in, I think, the kickoff that the HoloSim has ended the season, but it's not stopping. So it sounds like, again, the game will still exist, but these concept of seasons, one's done, they're going to give some cosmetic rewards to people, and then there'll be another season. Not going away, so definitely if you're still interested in learning, HoloSim definitely seems something really cool to check out if that's something you enjoyed. But anyways, so I'm still playing the normal version of Sage, the one with all the economy and supply chains and wallet integrations and blockchains and that. Still just making progress, moving all the titanium back. So that was my second farthest resource away. And then I have my one miner still doing the Luminite and moving along pretty good. Looks like I'm going to run out of fuel again, so I'll probably have to pause at some point. And, now that I think about that, I should probably do that before I leave town. So, yeah, actually, I should really do that. Just easier not to have to remote control computers to restock my, you guys don't care about that. I'll look at my charts when I'm done. Anyway, so yeah, proceeding ahead on those 2 things. And yeah, status quo, but again, works, doing something, feeling pretty good. I did have to move some Solana over to reboost because of fees, but I think I used 0.1, and at that moment in time, and it was, I think, where Solana was a little higher, I think it was around $20-25. But I mentioned the idea that in one of my beginner series, the idea of spending $20 a month is a monthly fee to the game, and it stinks you have to put it in Solana, but yeah, again, still moving toward things. And there has been talk that they might subsidize some of those fees with different blockchain changes. So I'm not too, it's just part of doing what we're doing now. And again, it's a entertainment fee, so I'm finding that acceptable. So anyways, but I've got that restocked. Someday I should actually record when I have to do these refills, but whatever. So yeah, so just moving through on that, and yeah, so that's pretty much it on my journey and everything else. So again, just to wrap up, just want to mention again, totally welcome if anyone wants to be a podcast guest. That could be other community members, talk about the week in review. Love to interview any content creators, builders, anything like that, projects you're doing, Star Atlas. Love to give you a talk about your project and give a chance there. Obviously, totally open to any team members who want to come on. Definitely more interested in beginner topics. No need for alpha or any of that stuff. And then please do check out my website, intergalacticherald.com. Got a lot of resources there. You can sign up for my weekly recap newsletter, sign up for the podcast, sign up for the Discord news feed. A lot of opportunities to help you get some information without having to check things. And then do have my Star Atlas merch store at intergalacticgear.com. And if you're interested in joining a community but don't want to join a Star Atlas Guild, please check out intergalacticcoalition.com for an interest over there. Other than that, thanks for listening. If you were involved in Community Week, hope you had a great time. We got another town hall in 2 weeks, I believe, so we'll see what this upcoming week brings with maybe an Atlas brew. Other than that, this is Matt with Intergalactic Herald. Have a great week ahead.